Hello, beloved ones. My name is Lorelei Fenton, and I'm someone who works with energy and consciousness and spirituality, and to help us all to be in the higher consciousness, to help us have youthful facades and healthy bodies, and live in the joy and the bliss and the peace. And it's almost indescribable in our world what this is until you actually kind of start to do it and feel it manifest. And FYI, most people do not, by any stretch of the imagination, believe the age that is on my birth certificate for me. So these processes, these age-old processes, really, really work. And today I want to talk to you about how do we bring forth this thing called the new earth? How do we bring that into us, both inside of us and into our own personal life and out in the greater world? And so, of course, first you would say, well, what the heck are you talking about the new earth? Some of you are hanging around my page and my sites and all the videos I make, and you have an idea. Oh, okay. The new earth is this almost like a heaven on earth, a Garden of Eden, a place where people are literally living day by day in peace, in joy, in harmony, in brotherhood, bliss, all of these wonderful love, all these wonderful energies. And that's where everybody is living day by day, moment by moment. And that's what we're calling the new earth. And that's the new earth consciousness that we're bringing forth. So, okay, that at least gives you an idea. Okay, well, what we're talking about here, but how could it be possible? And we're talking about all of humanity living like that. We're not just talking about, a couple people here and there living like that. When we say the new earth coming in, we mean all of humanity would be living like that. Well, how could that be possible, right? That. And the mind already says, oh, that's impossible. That's just not possible. But I'm here to tell you that there are millions upon millions of people, maybe even tens of millions of people, by the way, out there on the planet that do believe it is very possible, that are following it, and that are actively working to have it happen. Like literally to have it happen. So they believe it, and many of us believe it, and many of us are working to have it happen. So what's our basis for believing that something crazy like that could actually be possible? Well, many of us, millions and multi-millions and more every day, are actually literally getting communications with people of a higher, I say individuals, of a higher frequency and vibration. In other words, non-earth individuals, angels, archangels, ascended masters, galactic family of light. People are interacting with them. We are seeing them. We are talking to them. We are hearing them. And this is the message we are getting. We're putting it out online, what we see, what we hear, what we got. And the message we're getting over and over and over again is, yes, this is completely possible. And here's how it's going to happen. That's pretty exciting. Now you may say, oh, that's crazy. You're a bunch of nuts. But the fact of the matter is, with so many people feeling this, experiencing this, hearing this, seeing this, etc., and the opening of our third eyes, very soon the people that think it's crazy are going to be in the minority, because people have actually had those experiences in their life. People have looked up to the sky and seen a benevolent UFO. And they go, what the heck is that? And they're taking pictures of it, and video. And those people, you can't go back and tell them that does not exist. A person has a conversation with a higher level being of light. You can't go back and tell that person that doesn't exist. So the more of us that actually experience it, as I'm experiencing it, many, many, many others are experiencing it, we get it. We know it. We know it's going on. So how then could this be possible? How is it even remotely possible that this could actually happen? So let's first talk about what we are living inside of. And this is, again, a lot of this is information that's been channeled or given to us or whatever from these higher beings, our own higher self, by the way, our own higher self. We all have a higher self and multiple higher selves. So we have been living for many, many millennia we always live inside of a consciousness grid, okay? So there's this grid around the earth of consciousness. There's actually many grids around the earth of consciousness. So the particular grid of consciousness that we've been living in around the earth for many, many, many thousands of years is a fear-based grid. It's an anger and a hatred and a be afraid of everyone and do to them before they do to you. It's control. It's racism. It's all of that negative, nasty, unhappy, painful. It's pain, it's trauma, it's violence, it's abuse. All of that is what has been for many, many thousands of years in that consciousness grid. But if you go back even further, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, you get to the earth during the times of the age of Lemuria and the age of Atlantis. They call the golden age of Atlantis, okay? And you get to the time when the consciousness grid that was all around the earth was a grid where thoughts existed of love, of peace, of harmony, of joy, brotherhood. There wasn't even a single thought of harming another person. There wasn't a single thought of committing violence or whatever the case may be. You see, there was only around this grid these beautiful thoughts, all of these thoughts of love, vibration, of higher vibration. We have someone hanging around here, if you hear him in the background, making a lot of noise. Hopefully God will swoop right in and quiet this gentleman down so we can think. Okay, good. So these consciousness grids, they existed around the earth in a quite different way, and we pulled our thoughts from these consciousness grids. Now, I can prove to you for an assurity that we are pulling our thoughts from outside of ourselves, from somewhere, from other people, from some grids, whatever the case may be. And I have proven this in my workshops that I used to do, where I do an exercise where a couple people random from the audience come up to the stage, and a couple other people come out to be the kind of testers, if you will. And those people will hold out their arms, and the tester will push down the arm. The person's trying not to have the arm pushed down, and the tester wants to push it down. Obviously not enough to hurt somebody, and so they do the first one, the pusher. I'll call him the pusher. The first push is a test to see how strong the person's arm is or whatever, their will or whatever. And that's fine, and you see how that happens. But then, unbeknownst to those people on the stage, the audience is now sending thoughts of how weak they are, how insufficient, how imperfect, not good enough, etc., etc. Now the person holds out their arm and they try to hold it up, and the pusher puts it down and the arm goes right down. Boom. They have no strength at all. Now they don't know these thoughts are being sent to them. Next, the audience is, unbeknownst to them, sending them thoughts of how strong and powerful and amazing and wonderful they are. Again, the arm goes up, the pusher tries to push it down and cannot get that arm to go down. And that has happened over and over and over again in this exercise that I'm telling you about on stage. So literally, those people on that stage are accessing the thoughts that are being sent to them without even knowing it. This, of course, begs the question, what thoughts are really my own and what are coming from somewhere else, right? Now, there's also the 100th monkey effect, by the way. So that's thoughts being sent to them. But now you have the 100th monkey effect, where 100 monkeys on a island were taught, I believe, how to peel a banana, or I don't know, some certain way to peel a banana or something. Now, they're on a desert island that's completely surrounded by water. There is no way for them to get anywhere else, those monkeys. But now, after 100 monkeys are taught it, suddenly you go to another island way far away, and those monkeys are doing that they've never done before. So even the monkeys are accessing some consciousness of how to do things that they were never taught. Carl Jung speaks of this in his collective unconscious. People have spoken about it in metaphysical world. The Akashic record is some kind of consciousness out there that people are accessing. So this is very real. This is not just like messing around. This is very real. So then in the days of Atlantis and Lemuria, as we understand it, there were malevolent beings that were coming to the planet that impacted and began to bring control and fear and pain and sadness and torture and whatever else they were bringing to the collective consciousness, which gradually disintegrated those beautiful grids and rose another grid, another consciousness grid, which was exactly what we've been living in, this 3D, what we call third dimensional fear, pain, anger, etc. consciousness grid. But what's beautiful about it is, even though those kind of disintegrated, the grids are made of a conscious light, considered like the divine light, the God light, let there be light, right? That light that came into being, it was a conscious light and it was a God light, God spark, and it began to create everything. So that's what those grids are made of, that conscious light, and the consciousness is held in that light. So as they disintegrated and the light kind of vanished here, there, and everywhere, right? But there was still that kind of blueprint. There were still little sparks here and there of that beautiful consciousness, which now, historically at this time, as our planet passes through this amazing photon belt where the God light is literally, just barraging us. Our whole solar system is passing through this photon belt where the God light is barraging us. And we've raised our consciousness to a certain higher level. Believe it or not, it's higher than it's ever been in all of known history until Lemuria and Atlantis. Now these grids are being recreated. They're being lit up again. They're being reconnected. And that other yucky grid of all the nastiness, that grid is literally disintegrating before our eyes. Yes. That's good news, isn't it? Well, then you say, well, okay, I got that. There's these consciousness grids and we can activate them. And if there comes a day, sometime thousands of years from now, maybe they'll, no, that's actually not how long it's going to take, my friends. It's really not going to take that long, because what's happening is in each of us of millions of people that are playing in this arena, as we stay inside of those higher vibrational frequencies and love energies and joy and peace and bliss, more and more and more, it's like we are like exponentially increasing those grids. And exponentially, literally, so that literally in another 30 to 50 years, people will be totally inside of that. And at some point, not too far away, we won't even remember pain, fear, trauma, violence, etc. How amazing is that? Because that's what happened in ancient Lemuria as that disintegrated. There came a time, and we all forgot. Didn't we forget? We just forgot it was even possible to live in brotherhood and harmony and joy and all of that. We completely forgot it thousands of years later. But now we're going for the time when we forget it was possible to live in the fear, the pain, the trauma, etc. Now, listen, I'm going to give you practical tools, and that's why I'm here today. I'm not just here today to talk about some theory, okay? No, I'm here to give you practical tools. And these are tools I use every day. And I live every day in that peace and that bliss and that joy. And my new meetup, by the way, we're doing these things right now as I speak. I just finished one called Bliss-Outs, where we come together and we be in bliss and joy. And we do what makes us get there. Like, I'm not talking anything weird or, no, I'm talking like the divine spark, that divine practices that bring us to our joy, that bring us to a perfect state of health and youth and wellness and all that. And we do that together in this meetup, which is called Reclaim Your Youth, Health, and Inner Joy. And we have these Bliss-Outs, and I totally invite you to these Bliss-Outs, but I'm going to give you the tools right here and now. Okay, and one more thing I have to talk about. I want you to consider, because there's several consciousness grids that we're creating now. There's the fifth dimensional consciousness grid. There's the Ascension consciousness grid. There's the 5D grid. There's the Christ consciousness grid. There's the crystalline grid. Now, what I want you to kind of think of these as is there's one big, huge, enormous mansion called the higher consciousness grid. There's a mansion, right? But inside of this mansion, there are beautiful, luscious, delicious rooms, right? And each room has its own flavor. One is the Christ consciousness room, and that is a grid, but it's a room in that mansion, right? And it's where we know we are the divine children of the divine sparks, endowed with her amazing abilities and talents. And we know all that stuff that Jesus was walking around knowing, right? And then there's the fifth dimensional grid, where we know what it is to be in peace and bliss and joy and love and all that, right? We just got that in our spirit and our soul. And then there's the Ascension Grid, and the Ascension, don't get scared of that word. It just means altering the physical body, literally creating a physical light body that can, like Jesus, walk on that water or part that Red Sea like Moses. Sitting on like the Tibetan monks sitting on the glacier and meditating and melting the ice around you. That's what we're doing. That's what's called the Ascension, is bringing forth that physical light body, that magical, miraculous thing, right? We've talked about it. People have done it, right? It's just we're all going to be doing it en masse, right? So all these rooms. So if you hear these different things about this grid or that grid or whatever, don't worry. These are just different rooms in the greater mansion of the new earth. Let's put it that way. The greater mansion called the new earth, bringing forth the new earth, the consciousness, the new earth consciousness. These are all rooms in that consciousness. So now I'm going to give you the tools, the concrete in reality tools, where you do this in your life. And as you do this, you are feeding those consciousness grids, expanding those consciousness grids, making them brighter and brighter and brighter and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until finally comes a day that's all we live in, right? And that's your part of it, is just doing your own personal part. That's each of our own part. So the first tool is unity and oneness. And what I mean is us coming together for the purpose of being in that space, that bliss, that joy, that harmony, that peace, that love. Now, what happens when we come together in that unity, okay? What happens, and by the way, having health and youth and all that too, what happens literally is we make a 10-fold result, 10 times the power that we would have to do it alone. But if there's 10 of us doing it, then there's 100 times the power. If there's 1 million of us doing it, you can imagine that's a lot of power, right? So it's coming together in unity and oneness to actually get in that space. Now, I don't mean to talk about it. I don't mean to have a conversation. I don't mean to theorize. I mean to do the practices that put us in that space. And now getting together and talking and theorizing with groups is wonderful, and it supports you, and it feels good to know there's others like you or whatever. But no, to do the actual practices, that's when you get the 10-fold manifestation. And by the way, on that note, that's what we're doing in my Bliss-Outs. We're doing the practices that put us in those states together. So we're doing it for each other and for ourselves. So that's tool number 1. The next tool is to bring in the divine consciousness light, to bring in the creational light, the light of God, the let there be light, to bring that literally into our body and into our space. You see, again, because this was what created it all. When God, when the divine consciousness said, "Let there be light," that came forth and began to create everything else. So as we bring that into our body, and there's various meditations and ways of doing that I do in the Meetup group, we do it together, right? We are bringing in the ability to literally alter the very material world, the very space around us. That's pretty cool, right? Because that's the creational divine light. Okay, the next tool, I just want to look at my notes here, make sure I didn't miss anything here. Hold on a second. Oh, the next tool is to utilize the high vibrational sound and music. Okay, so there came Let There Be Light. Now there was a thought, after a while, we could actually create physical matter. But all matter is composed of vibration. This is what quantum physics now tells us. All matter is composed of vibration. And say a rock is maybe at a very slow vibration, whereas an angel is at a very fast vibration. Fear is at a very low vibration, and joy is a very high vibration, you see. So matter itself, this tree behind me, my hair, the crystals, my bracelets, everything, my body is composed of various kinds of vibration. Okay? So we want to bring in the higher vibrational sound to lift our bodies up. It does it without you even trying, by the way. When you get in those singing bowls, right? That's that. You feel great. You're not even knowing why, and you do feel great. When you're chanting certain beautiful chants, you feel wonderful, right? And you don't know why, but it just literally, bringing in the high vibrational sound alters the very cells of your body. And by the way, the other negative sounds go the opposite way. So stay away from those sounds, those harsh, discordant kind of, those things that give you a jarring. They're taking you the wrong way, so stay away from those. So bringing in the high vibrational sound is raising us up. And, various kinds of beautiful music like Mozart and Beethoven and Bach and all of these things, they are of that high vibration. And that's why it feels so good to listen to them. Listening to solfeggio frequencies and, nature sounds, all of that. So that's another extremely important tool, which we do use also, by the way, in the Bliss-Outs. Next tool is to activate and strengthen your chakra system. So the chakra system are the energy centers of the body. There's not 7 energy centers. There's tons, but there's 12 that we're actually bringing on board right now because, all of that junk DNA, quote unquote, was never junk to begin with. Now it's being used to upgrade and activate our DNA. Now the divine light is upgrading and activating our DNA and working with our chakra system. So the chakra system is literally energetic centers that show up as light, conscious light in our bodies. It was the originating light body before you even came into the physical body. It was sort of the blueprint to create your physical body. And then it came in with your consciousness, okay? And so this light body, if it is at a level of perfection, you absolutely cannot get sick. There is no possible way to get sick. And you become magical. We become magical. So we want to activate and strengthen and balance and open and enlighten and bring to the highest vibration of frequency our divine chakra systems. And by the way, I've seen pictures of these chakra energy centers. You can see them. There's certain kinds of cameras that take a picture. I don't know quite what they are or how they do it, but I've literally seen them. So, this is very real. So that's another tool. And again, we do that in the Bliss-Outs, and you're going to see, if you do try out these Bliss-Outs, you're going to see, whoa, I don't even know why, but I just feel like $1 million. So, next tool, the 5th tool, be out in nature. You see here where I am? You notice I'm out in nature? Well, why is that? So nature, if you notice, you go and you lay on go and you lay on the beach and you feel great. You lay outside under a tree and you feel great. You look up at the stars and you're looking at the clouds and you feel great. You're near a water source, right? And the bubbling brook is going by and it feels great because nature is very, very, very high vibration. And by the way, getting higher all the time, right? Because how could you consider something that springs forth this much life, this much joy, this much life. Life is love in physicality, right? If it's bringing forth this much life, it must be a high vibration. And by the way, these are embodied. The earth is embodied with a conscious being of light. It's embodied. You can't imagine it couldn't be with all this life coming forth, right? So being out in nature is another tool, and getting your feet on it and laying on it. I have my shoes off. I could show you right now, but and feeling it and touching it, getting in the water, all of that. Not that chlorinated water in a pool. I'm talking about, no, that chlorinated water's not good. I'm talking about a lake, a stream, the ocean, whatever like that. So that's tool number 5. And tool number 6. This is a big one. This is a new one, by the way, coming on board for us. We haven't had this. Well, we've had it. It was available. We just haven't known it was available. Tool number 6 is utilization of the I am presence within us. So the I am presence is literally the presence of God, the power of God, right inside each and every one of us. And it is that when we say I am, we declare with the power of God into existence whatever we want. Now, this is some pretty powerful stuff, and it's talked about in the 33 discourses of Saint Germain, which are incredibly powerful. I don't think anybody who even remotely wants to be in the space of love and bliss, anybody in that realm, do not ignore those 33 I am discourses of Saint Germain. They were channeled to us by Ascended Master Saint Germain in the 1930s. And now, as a woman who has read and studied and practiced and most incredible tools on the planet for feeling great and having, joyful life, this, bar none, is the most powerful. I kid you not. At least that's from where I sit right now, okay? 10 years ago, I might have said it was my work with transformational practices of, working with the stories that we all have and crashing down our stories and whatever. I would have said that 10 years ago, that was the most powerful. But now, no, I say this is the most powerful. Getting ourselves into the divine God space, where by the power of our word, we speak into existence what we want, and we're at such a high frequency and vibration, and we really believe it and all that. That is the most powerful. Now, we've been using our I am presence, divine power of God, for a long time, except we've been using it to ruin our lives. We've been saying, I am sick, I am angry, I am broke, I am poor, I am sad, I am unhappy, yada, 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 yada. And the more we say that, the more we put into existence that is all going on. So all this saying, I am a divine spark of God that we want, isn't going to cancel out if we're going around all day saying, I am sick, I am broke, I am sad, I am angry, right? So we practice using our divine declaration in the Bliss-Outs too. And we practice all day remembering not to use it for anything we don't want. And the other important piece of that is belief. Belief is coming on board now, to believe that we have this power, right? It's coming on board now. It's been out of existence for a long time. But when God said, let there be light, you better believe he believed it and it was going to happen, right? So the more we practice these tools and these skills, the more we do believe they are possible, the more we do believe it's going to happen. And again, to go back to basically every tool out there in the manifesting world by every personal growth person, a spiritual person, and everything else, pretty much fits into one of these six categories. So if you use these tools, then and bringing them together in unity, by the way, unity, oneness is the one that a lot of manifestors miss. So bring that in. If you use these tools, you can be sure you're on the right track for health, youth, and joy, right? And bliss. And you're on that new earth track. You're doing it. You're feeding that beautiful grid out there. You're making it stronger and stronger and stronger exponentially. The more of us that do it, we are doing it and we are bringing it forth. And there will come a day when we forget there was ever any pain. I'm down with that. I hope you are too. Oh my goodness. My goodness. I think that's about all I'm going to say on this topic. I do bring you tools and practices again in my Bliss-Outs, my meetups. You can also find tons and tons of tools for these things online, so go find them. But I would love it if you feel that you're part of our tribe, that you really want to do this and have this come forth, and you want to do it now. You don't want to wait till somebody else does it and then you jump on board, right? But you want to do it now. You're probably part of our tribe. What I call our tribe. We're finding our tribe right now. So if that's the case, please do, join this meetup and come to those Bliss-Outs. You can do them in-line or on person. I'm keeping the cost of the meetup very low, just $10 a month. So anybody can do this. And you don't have to pay to come to the Bliss-Outs. There might be a small charge if I have to rent a room or something, or a small maybe donation, only in case, like if it's outdoors, I don't care. Come on, everybody, come on, come all, right? Oh gosh, I just want you and us and all to be in that new earth together. So also, if this, like, you see it's wonderful and you love it, you think it's great, but you think, well, I'm probably not going to do it right now or whatever, but you want to support me in some way and support all of us creating this, you can do this through either a one-time donation to my PayPal, or you can be a member of my Patreon. And by the way, at the upper levels of the Patreon, you are actually become a member of the meetup. I give you that for free, by the way. And if you're not on the upper levels, you at least get the replays of these Bliss-Outs. I mean, the Bliss-Outs are going to get those replays, okay? And at the upper levels, you can become a member if you so desire. I just give you that as a gift. So, if you feel so moved, to take that route and you want to support, that's wonderful and it's much appreciated. I also, by the way, sell beautiful crystals. I am surrounded by the most amazing energy of the thousands of crystals in my house. That's another thing that keeps me feeling great all the time. And of course, very much I want to thank you for watching this video. That's such a huge support when you just watch these and you let your friends watch them and you get the word out, and that helps us to also grow our tribe and grow our grid. Because the more people in this conversation, the more we're doing it, right? And we are doing it. God bless you. I love you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Namaste, dear ones.